When Representative Ileana Ros-Lehtinen announced a few months ago that she was going to retire, it set off a stampede of candidates who wanted to claim her seat.
Two candidates emerged from the crowd in the last month's primary. For the Republicans, it's Maria Elvira Salazar, a well-known Spanish-language broadcaster on the air in South Florida some 30 years. For this run for Congress, it's her first try at elected office. And for the Democrats, it's Donna Shalala, also a first run for office, but no stranger to politics. Shalala is former University of Miami president, and before that, served as Health and Human Services Secretary under President Bill Clinton. Right here with us this morning. Great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. So good to see you. And let me just briefly explain. We invited Maria Elvira to come and be part of this conversation, and her campaign considered it and said, we'll do one debate on Channel 10 on This Week in South Florida. We would rather do it October 7th. So she was invited, chose not to be here. We are glad you are.
Thank you very much. Well, I wouldn't want to debate me on health care.
Well, you want to start there? Because there was a tweet storm recently, which has actually preceded our invitation to you.
Right.
It was kind of a Twitter back and forth that started with a Governor Rick Scott tweet about health care. Do you want to go there?
Sure. I pointed out that Governor Scott had headed a company, HCA, which had ripped off Medicare. And during the time I was HHS secretary, my department and the Justice Department got the largest settlement that has ever been made by a company to pay back some of the money that they took away.
$1.7 billion.
$1.7 billion.
Can I just, up on the screen right now, the tweet that precipitated this, the governor said, if you want to protect Medicare, vote Republican. If you want a socialist experiment with Medicare, by all means vote Democrat. And that really piqued you. And you started, and then Ms. Salazar answered, and the audience on Twitter got to see a healthcare debate real time.
Exactly.
And your point was that it is the Democrats that are saving healthcare. In this District 27, there are the highest number of enrollees in the Affordable Care Act, yet the Affordable Care Act is targeted by the Republicans. And where does Donna Shalala stand?
Well, there are over 500,000 people to get Medicare, too, in this district.
Yes.
So the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. There are 100,000 people in this district that receive their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. We must protect it as we must protect Medicare. And this administration has done everything they could to undercut it. Repeal and replace, they have no replace. And time again, Republicans have voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act with no replacement, with nothing to say to 100,000 citizens.
Yeah. Donna, Maria Elvira clearly, obviously, is not here to present her point of view, but in that tweet back and forth with her, essentially she tweeted to you, we could put it up on the screen, but what she said was, I see you have joined Team Trump. Well, this is actually your tweet to her. What she said was, don't condescend to me. I'm paraphrasing. You don't know about working people who are losing health care coverage because they can't afford rising Obamacare premiums.
Well, it's not rising Obamacare premiums are because this administration has made the insurance plans unstable because no one knows what's going to happen next. And insurance costs are going up because of pharmaceutical costs, because of technical costs.
Right.
We must get control of those. The administration has said it's going to, and there's no evidence that it is.
So as a candidate, just to put a cap on this, is there a plan in mind that you have to fix what needs to be
Absolutely.
fixed?
One of the things that happened with Obamacare and with the Affordable Care Act, which I'd rather call it, is that we never got a chance to make the technical corrections. Usually when you do a big bill,
right,
6 months later you make corrections.
Right.
We never got the subsidies deep enough, and frankly, we need to get control over pharmaceutical costs. There are millions of people in Medicare, 44 million people. We ought to be negotiating drug costs with that group.
And with a Democratic House of Representatives, is that possible?
It is possible because we're also going to take the Democratic Senate.
All right, let's move on to strictly something political, which is you were predicted to be the overwhelming, prohibitive favorite in this race. You were going to sweep to victory in a blue wave. But the Cook Political Report, among others, has said that this district now goes from leans Democrat to toss-up. And in the various polls which have been done by your campaign and by hers, you're either only a few points ahead of her or she is ahead of you. So I guess, honestly, the question is, what's going on here? What's
Lean
happened
Democratic means that you're a few points ahead. Remember, the primary, it was a tough primary, but remember, lean Democratic means a few points ahead. I always thought it was going to be a tough race, and I ran like it was going to be a tough race. President Clinton once said, you run either 20 points behind or you run unopposed. So this district is a toss-up district. It always was slightly leaning Democratic.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
Hillary
we have
Clinton
to make our
won it by
case.
19 points.
Yes, but she wasn't running in a local race. She was running in a national race against Donald Trump. She was not running in a local race. This is a local race in which Republicans have voted for Democrats and
Yes.
Democrats have voted for Republicans. Remember who held the seat. So
Yeah.
it's always been a kind of bipartisan seat.
That's true.
I need to make the case that I'm the most qualified candidate. That will make the difference.
You know what's I'm going to ask you to sort of handicap the other side. I think I don't want to speak for everyone in the news media, but sort of eyebrows were raised when Maria Elvira Salazar won that primary by, 15%. And there were some, former office holders and big names in the Republican primary, and that was, I think, a bit surprising to a lot of people. Why do you think that is on that side?
No one had any money except for her, and she had the name recognition. So it's a pretty simple explanation of what happened in that race. Remember, all of the elected office holders represented a small part of the district, not the whole district. And they didn't have any money. She had the money and she had the name recognition. So that's what happened. And she didn't have $2 million spent against her in negative ads.
And so as retiring Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, who is sort of revered by so many, is this...
Me too.
So is there anything about you that says, one of us is going to have to show how we're most like the retiring Congresswoman, how we will follow in her footsteps, or is that not a thing?
Well, I think we follow in our own footsteps. I'm a friend of Ileana's. We've been friends for a very long time. She found her way through the Republican Party, objecting to certain things that were going on. There's no question about that. I have to find my own way. I have always worked with Republicans, most recently with Bob Dole, to help America's veterans, particularly in veterans' health. So I know how to reach across the aisle, but the real difference between the two candidates is that I've spent a career getting things done, creating jobs, creating health care, working in the community, on homelessness with United Way, on health care, to deliver health care to large numbers of poor people. 90% of the doctors at Jackson are doctors. I've been on the ground here in our community, and I know the community.
Yeah. Donna, Congressman Carlos Curbelo says that non-Cuban Hispanics are really the big swing voters in this district, and those people from Nicaragua, Colombia, Venezuela, and so on, they know Maria Elvira over 30 years of reporting in Spanish, and those voters don't know you as well.
That's a Trump strategy. Divide us by where we came from, by what languages we speak, by who we hold hands with, by whether we have a disability. I have great confidence in the people in this district. I've worked with them over the years. They will make a judgment on who can get it done in Washington for them, on who will be the strongest representation.
Donna Shalala, great to have you.
Yes, we love having you here. And the next time that you are here, we believe that Maria Elvira will be sitting right over here, and we'll have a good, robust debate. So thanks very much.
Thank you.